Hello. Hello. Welcome to the Coaxum Report. This is Terry Coaxum, and I'm super excited today to be joined by Gregory Robeson Smith Jr. And just hoping that you enjoy the show today as much as I will. Gregory is truly a breath of fresh air. He's going to talk about his management, he's going to talk about his career in the Fortune 500 companies. And for those of you that are just joining in, you can join us here in the marketplace. You can download our app. You can catch us on Roku. You can catch us on Amazon, WXTX Bloomberg. And I'm super excited to welcome today's guest, Gregory Robeson Smith, who I refer to as our Grandmaster. You can't get away with that one.
No, I can't. I know I can't.
I have to talk about your role. So, Greg,
Mhm.
it's truly exciting. You're a Morehouse College man. You're a member of the Divine Nine. You're serving now in the capacity of our Grandmaster. You'll talk about Prince Hall and what that really means. Um, I'm from the South. I always tell the story that when I grew up, my grandfather was a Mason, and so that was really my real introduction to what men were responsible for doing. I remember they would come to the house, they'd be dressed in their blacks, they'd have grocery bags for each other to give each other jobs. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. He had this G in the living room, and I asked him, I said, "Yo, Grandpapa Lot, what does that G mean?" And he said, "If I tell you, I'm gonna have to kill you." I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on now. What the?" So my curiosity piqued my interest, and of course, down the line, I became an Eastern Star and have been exposed firsthand to all the wonderful work you guys are doing here in New York. And just want to talk to you a little bit, Greg, about who you are, what When Family mean to you, just some of your career choices, and try to dig right in so we can give our listening audience a lot of nuggets from your experience.
Well, thank you, Terry, for this opportunity to be here this afternoon. And I think, where should I start? Right? Where should I start? Um, when you talk about first from a personal perspective of how part of the masonry, I'm a fifth generation. Fifth generation. Master Mason, going way back to my great great grandfather, who was an abolitionist, Cyrus Bustle, in
Wow.
Philadelphia. And from there, you can say that I kind of grew up in it,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Uh,
Find out. No, you grew up in it.
yes, yes, I did. Yes, I did. And with the experiences, just being around people, like I said, people in black suits, things of that sort, it was so many different things that kind of exposed me just to the world, right?
That's right. That's right.
And the thing is that it was more of a community of people of doing things in like the public. When you're talking about the I said abolitionists, people that was part of working in political and private sectors, people
That's
who
right.
had
Bridging the gap. That was a true meaning of bridging the gap back then. Yeah.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And the thing is that as I've gotten older, I had no idea that some of the people who are very influential in the community, were a part of the organization.
That's right.
When you're talking about the late great Calvin, Reverend Dr. Calvin Butts,
That's
Percy
right.
Sutton, Charlie Rangel, so many, Adam Clay Power the Fourth. It was so many people who were involved in Masonry in New York, and that by learning about that, it kind of drew me to learn more, right?
That's
To
right.
learn more. What's interesting is that, and actually, I joined it after my going to college at Morehouse College, and you're
Oh,
talking
that
about
is interesting. I didn't
yes,
know that. Okay.
yes, yes, because when you talk about kind of like my path, going to a HBCU at Morehouse College, Maroon Tigers in Atlanta, Georgia, uh, learned a lot of roots,
Mhm.
there
Yep.
in Atlanta. One of the people that was very influential, of course, Martin Luther, King Jr. Uh,
Mhm.
a graduate of Morehouse College. Also, his role model, Reverend Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, who was
Yes.
distinguished
Yes.
distinguished president of Morehouse College, but also was the founding faculty advisor for the Divine Nine of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Uh,
Really?
yes, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, he was the founding faculty advisor for Psi Chapter. And of course, I ended up joining Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated while in undergrad at Psi Chapter. And then from there, learning history, learning so many different things
That's right.
in the Atlanta University Center, because not only you had Morehouse, you had Spelman, you had Clark Atlanta, you had Morris Brown,
That's
you had, it was so many terms of HBCUs that actually you could take classes in any of the campuses, depending on what your major was. My major was banking and finance.
right.
As a BA, Bachelor's of Arts, because Morris is a liberal arts school, but I had a concentration in finance, banking and finance, thinking that, okay, I want to do it because I was, good at numbers. That was my thing in terms of business. And then from there, kind of, when I graduated from there, and end up in terms of career wise, in
That's
terms
right.
of
That's
the
right.
companies, the companies that I've worked for. I mean, I was
Let's
fortunate.
let's go back for a minute
Yeah,
because you're glossing over a lot of foundation, right?
yeah.
There's a lot of foundation here, and I just want to go back to that,
Mhm.
right? So fifth generation, right?
Yes,
So that to me says that there was a strong public service
mhm.
background automatically. Fifth
Yes.
generation. Because I told you
Mhm.
when I was exposed to masonry very young on, it was all about public service. It was
Mhm.
about the
Right.
neighbors in your hood. It
Yes.
wasn't about all that other stuff. It wasn't the titles. I didn't even know what any of that stuff meant at the time. But what
Mhm.
I did know is that that was your brother, that was your sister, right? And
Mhm.
so when you talk about the college foundation,
Mhm.
masonry was even before that because at
That's
that
correct.
time, black and brown people weren't going to college. They
That's
weren't.
correct.
They were not allowed to go to college, and so they built this strong foundation built on public service, built on integrity, built on all of these things that we stand on today, and these principles still stand strong. And you talked about, Dr. Mays and the fundamentals and the foundation there
Mhm.
at Park Atlanta, but I don't want to gloss over all that it took to get you to that next level. That next level being, of course, graduation, majoring in business and finance. But I want to go back to that because there are a lot of people that are listening, in Southeast Asia, in the Caribbean, and of course in the United States here. And I want to kind of help them understand, like, how did you get there? Like, they took a lot of tenacity, a lot of support, a lot of family,
Mhm.
really encouraging and inspiring you to take that next step and whatever that was. And so I want them to see, without a root, there is no tree, right? So
That's
you
correct.
you had a root, some roots that were really planted strong in your DNA that makes you who you are today. So I just don't want to gloss over that because that's
Understood.
a lot
Understood.
of fundamentals that I just like my listening audience to to try to understand who Gregory Robertson Smith Jr. is, but more importantly, how does that relate to them? How are they now able to take all of that you just described and make that a part of their DNA so that they can take it to the next level? Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. I want individuals to be able to emulate and to see what you're doing and
Mhm.
understand that they too can have all of that. And I mean, in the brotherhood, there's a lot. And you just talked about two significant brotherhoods in your life. And so,
Mhm.
we're going to get to that second divine nine part. But there is some real, there is some real ground roots in masonry and in being an Eastern Star that I'm beginning to understand even more now.
Mhm.
Simply with a sisterhood. Simply by the mention, I remember, Greg, I had an opportunity to go down to Denver when President Obama was working for President Obama, took a leave of absence, went down to Denver. They said, actually, we went down to Denver, and they told us that we had to, get boots on the ground and really be strong, a strong foundation. And what I found was 32 VJ. 32 VJ was strong. They were
Mhm.
standing strong. They were standing with us. And I remember a brother walked in, and he shook my hand, and I began to talk to him, and I immediately understood that he was a traveling man.
Right.
And from that time, my experience and my carpet had been rolled out, and I had the most amazing experience down there. It wasn't one time I can go, I need, and before I could get I need out of my mouth, it was already done. And that's what we're talking about. So I just want
Right.
people to understand what that really means. and its significance, right? So now you're at Morehouse, you're majoring in business administration and finance, which in banking and finance, which in itself is a huge deal because we're always thinking about banking and finance and we're thinking about multimillionaires, right? We're thinking about planting the seed of legacy and equity and making sure that our folks have those fundamentals to move forward. So now you're here. Now you're getting ready to graduate Morehouse.
Yes.
You're taking all of this institution with you, right? Because you talked about not just Morehouse, but Spelman and Clark Atlanta or Morris Brown. And then you talked about having strong mentors, right? And
Right.
also faculty advisors that really cared about what your next steps were going to be, right? So now you're here. Now you at this next point, at this next juncture, where now it's time to go out now and take this degree to the next level. Tell us what that looks like.
Now it's interesting going to the next that next level. Working in kind of like the Fortune 500 companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting
Huge
that
deal.
I know. Let me tell you. Well,
That's
yeah,
big.
yes,
That's big.
yes. And my what was interesting is that when you talk about this, when talk about the foundation, that next step. I can tell you how influential my mother, my
Yeah.
mother, my mother
Yeah.
was. Because when you're looking at even though I have a my BA, but also have my MBA in management from Long Island University, is that the fundamental roots of basically family
Wow.
connections
That's right.
because of my mother
That's right.
has made me so humble in terms of how I go to work each day,
Wow.
how I
That's
interact with people.
mm-hmm.
Me taking that step into the corporate world, it seems like was just the normal,
Thing
progression.
to do, right?
You
You
know,
like, oh yeah, we all do that. It's
right,
gonna be
right.
like,
It's
no.
right. You want to go and say you got to pay your student loans back. You got to do those things.
I'm
And
responsible. They're like, okay.
exactly, exactly. So what's interesting is that I was fortunate, say fortunate to work for. I worked for four Fortune 500 companies that were number one in their respective fields.
Mm-hmm.
Telecommunications. When I talk about, well, now it's Verizon. Before
Right.
it was 9X. Then Citigroup. I
Yeah.
was in Citigroup for a long period of time, and then from there, Waste Management. Which is the largest carding in North America, and then now with the Compass Group.
Right.
North America. So each number one in their respective, number one or number two in their respective fields.
That's
And
right.
what's interesting is that, it's a couple of things in terms of applying that a lot of things is, even though you learn things from a book and from the, you're in class and you said,
That's
how
right.
can I apply these things that I learned in terms of academia into the real world? But I can tell you that the mentorship from people who had life skills
That's right.
was more important to
That's right.
me than it was, having the background in terms of academic, studies,
That's
right?
right. And
Because
you,
yeah,
you know what? I need to pause you right there because
yeah,
as a professor, I teach at Medgar Evers College, right?
mhm,
And I always tell my students, I don't want you just to have theory, right? And that's
right,
the academics, that's the
right,
book, right?
right,
So they have these main fundamentals that we have to teach them in every class, whether it's,
hmm,
teaching them the right policy or looking at public administration a very different way, looking at organizational
right,
management. But then I bring in people like you that have a lived experience.
hmm,
And so it's really important that you're saying this right now because it's not just the academics that are needed, especially for our folks. I think that the academics is important, but I think that
hmm,
practice
yes,
is even more important, especially when you're going in your specific field. I mean, banking and finance is not for the weak at heart. Like you literally either you like it or you love it. I hear a lot of
right,
people talk about it. I have an MBA and an MPA, right? I hear a lot of people talking about it. It's not for me per se. Like banking and
mhm,
finance, yeah, I work and I'm give my age away a little bit. I worked in manufacturing Hanover Trust. Manny Hanny, right? So Manny Hanny became Chemical,
right,
Chemical became Chase, Chase became
mhm,
Chase,
yeah,
and then Chase.
hmm,
So there we have it, right?
yes,
But and working in banking, my main thing was how do I get this money on the streets? How do I get this money to individuals, to nonprofit organizations, to social organizations, to all of these things? Like that was my main purpose. But what I hear you saying is that when you were, and you still are, which is really important for everyone to understand,
Hmm.
you still are surrounded by
Hmm.
the organizations, the fundamentals. So you're still, we're learning every day. Everybody learns every
Right.
day, but you also are very much a part of the theory, and you're creating it as
Hmm.
you're going along. Like with
Hmm.
one family, it sounds simple. There's nothing simple about, and we all know, we all have families. There's nothing simple about bringing all your family together
Right.
under one
Right.
umbrella.
Yeah.
That's huge. And so I just want to pause, and I want you to continue to talk about how you're able to take that theory and put it into practice, because those small businesses that are listening to us today, I want them to understand that
Right.
your lived experience is also very important. A
Hmm.
lot of people feel like if you have this accreditation, this criteria, this piece of paper, then it gives you a leg up, and it does. But your lived experience also matters, and it also counts, and that's what you were talking about. I just wanted to pause because I don't want it to get lost
Right.
down the road when we really start digging a little deeper into how you're able to use these nuggets that you're imparting on us, because you've already given us a few,
Hmm.
so that we can have help our business take us to the next level. So talk to me a little bit more about just having the academics. Now you have the academics, they're in place. That
Hmm.
theory, right? How are
Hmm.
you putting this theory into practice to make these fundamental changes, life changing things that you're doing along the way? The other thing I want to go back is your mom, right?
Hmm.
Phenomenal woman, taught you work ethic. You felt like this was the norm.
Right. Yes.
You walked in and study. It's like these are all the things I have to
Hmm.
check the box and do.
Hmm.
When you realize your peers weren't really doing all of those things that you
Hmm.
thought was just normal
Right.
to you. So talk a little bit about that, and I want you to talk about it because I want individuals to understand that the people you surround yourself with will change your trajectory. So talk to me.
Yes. Now, it was interesting. Now, going back when I said my mother, with regards to learning from her, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
if you think about it, if you go back to, prior to, some people, weren't going to college. Some
That's
people
right. They weren't
weren't doing
right.
things, and they had to learn life skills. I mean, my
That's
mother
right.
was the first generation to attend college, but she came.
Really?
Yes. Yep. And she
Wow.
came from a small town in North Carolina.
Hmm.
In
Uh-oh. What
Fork.
part of North Carolina?
Yes, it's called. No, see, it's so small that when I say Piney Fork, you're like, well, where is that on the map? Okay, it's a
A whole
town.
bunch
It's
of
a
churches
thin
in the
town.
stoplight.
Exactly, a dirt road, everything. Those things. And
Wow.
every summer, she used to bring my brother and my sister. Every summer to my cousin's house, my grandparents' house, and we used to pick tobacco every summer
Wow.
because my grandfather had, he had livestock, he had, fields, he has everything. And every summer, it was all the cousins, my aunts, uncles, everyone. We used to pick tobacco, and and
Wow.
and the thing is that when you talk about the work ethic, that was my,
Mhm.
that's what we're doing, and
That's
every,
backbreaking work.
yes, and we would get $1 each, and we thought that we
Had
won,
a lot of money.
the jackpot. We won the jackpot. But it was those thoughts in terms of learning, in terms of work ethic, coming,
Mhm.
from her, right? And the thing is that that's where you kind of, work ethic is something that sometimes is internal, but
That's right.
also too is how it's taught by the village. And when
That's
I
right.
say the village, I use, say, maybe being grandmaster has the terminology one family. When just, it's, we always talk about the proper. It takes a village.
That's
It
right.
takes a
And it
village.
does.
It takes a
Absolutely.
village. And the thing is that, I'm a Generation Xer, where that, kind of like the bridge building, coming from, the baby boomers, and you have the millennials and the Gen Zs. The Generation X is kind of like those bridge builders where traditional coming with the new
That's
21st,
right.
20 century. But to take that and to say from theory to actual work is learning from when I had as a child, right?
Wow.
Because a lot of times you pick up certain nuggets, and us when you're a child, you absorb so much information more
You
than
do.
you
You're a
realize.
sponge. You're a sponge.
More than you realize. So by me, taking the things to school, but a lot of things in terms of putting it to practice, where I constantly make sure I still tied with my roots and
That's right.
people who I surround myself with, because people who I surround myself with are people, that people who are family, people who are not family, But when you talk about like-minded people,
That's right.
you
That's
don't have to go to, an institution of higher learning, or, or anything of that sort, or anything. You can always be around like-minded
minded
people,
people.
and
That's
people
right.
have the same goals in mind.
That's
And a number of people, I have friends of mine who have small businesses,
right.
and they entrepreneurs, and they said, "Hey, Greg, we want to, we want to work for ourselves. We want to be
That's
our
right.
own boss." And just going back to remember where, in terms of the work ethic, of course, when you have your own business, it's completely different, in my eyes, of work ethic than
That's
you
right.
have working for a major company. Because the thing is, your life, the money that you generate, it's on you,
That's right.
right? It's
And you
on you.
and I always say this, and I know it's probably a little graphic, but I said you gotta kill it and eat it. Like you literally have to go get it, kill it and eat it. Like there is no sitting around waiting on a paycheck to come in. You are literally working your business. And
Mhm.
that's why in business development I teach my
Yes.
entrepreneurs to work your business and not let your business work you. Because
Right.
it's very easy to let your business work you. From sun up to sundown, you're working in your business and you're not taking the skills that you're talking about now and turning them into revenue generating things that you're making money in your sleep. I'm teaching them how to make money in their sleep because at the end of the day, we only got that 24 hours. That's
Right.
all we got. No matter how much money you have, you can't buy that time back.
Mhm.
And so, what you do with that time, what you're doing with that time in banking and finance, what Warren Buffett is doing with that time, what Steve Jobs did with the time that he had, right? What
Yes.
Oprah is doing, it's that time it's going to determine what the next is going to be for not just you, your family, your legacy, and everything else in between. And that's why it's so important when you
Mhm.
talk about your mom and you talk about the foundation in North Carolina, right?
Mhm.
First of all, they were teaching you so much more than just work ethic, right?
Mhm.
They were
Right.
teaching you the importance of family. You were coming together with your cousins that you probably wouldn't have seen if they grew up in the North and you grew up in the South, in a
Mhm.
community but that you wouldn't have been exposed to if you'd have stayed in the North and not gone down to the South,
Right.
in an
Mhm.
atmosphere with tobacco, which is a hard job. Like that's not
Mhm.
the easiest of jobs, right? But not
Right.
only were you doing it, you were doing it with family. And
Mhm.
so now why it's easier for me to see why now as grandmaster, the first thing that you think about is bringing under one family. We're all
Mhm.
one family. And I think that's really important. I don't want to miss that because I mean, South Carolina is where I was born and raised. I picked peanuts and threw watermelons and all this stuff. That was not easy work. I
Right.
was like
Yeah.
14 years old, 13 years old. But it was something I wanted to do so that I can and it's really interesting because you say, oh, you own your business, you want to own your own destiny. Yeah, but guess what? You get to control your money, but you also have to pay your penance to God. You also have to invest back into your business and invest back in
Yeah.
yourself. And if you don't have those fundamentals from the ground, which is what I hear you saying is where you got it from, you
Yes.
won't be able to be successful down the line. Your business will become your piggy bank. And I have my business owners optimizing options so that they're not becoming their piggy bank. You are paying yourself. It's
Right.
really important to pay yourself in your business. I don't know where businesses get into the idea that if I pay myself, I'm taking away from my business. No, you're taking away from your business if you're not paying yourself. Because if you
Mhm.
don't pay yourself, you can't eat, you can't be your full 100%, and you can't put in the 110 that you would put into someone else's business because
Right.
you
Right.
pay yourself. And it's really important for my small business owners to get that. So Greg, this is a lot of great nuggets. We're gonna come back, silly how time flies when we have this fun. We're gonna take a quick commercial break and we're gonna come back and talk a little more about the fundamentals of ground up, right?
Yes. Yep.
Because once we get the fundamentals of ground up, once we have that tree planted firmly in that ground, you will be able to give our small businesses a lot of nuggets that they'll be able to, and these are interchangeable talents and gifts that
Mhm.
you gained along the way.
Right.
And so I'm pretty super excited about having you on the show today. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Thank you so much
Right.
for the Coaxum Report.
This is the Bloomberg Small Business Report. Some of the biggest social media influencers make it look easy to make big money. But like any small business, it takes time, resources, and determination for content creators to create a steady stream of revenue. According to a new study published by the Tilt newsletter for professional content creators, it takes an average of almost 5 months for them to earn their first dollar and more than 12 months to turn their digital venture into a full-time business. After reaching that stage, creators will need to side hustle or rely on savings to get by. The survey notes it took more than 18 months for creators to fully support themselves through content creation. And as for maintaining a strong social media presence, creators should focus on quality over quantity. The study indicates the average creator has 4,000 followers across various channels. The Tilt's founder, Joe Pulizzi, tells Business Insider the numbers show you don't need millions of followers to make a business out of this. With the Bloomberg Small Business Report, I'm Steve Rappaport.
Having an issue with your bank?
What?
Did your credit card company close your account without warning? Did an online merchant refuse to send your purchase after they took your money? Know your rights as a consumer. Here's what you can do to file a complaint. As soon as you are aware of a problem, contact the customer service staff at your financial institution or merchant to make them aware of the issue. This is typically the fastest way to resolve your complaint. If that doesn't resolve the problem, you should reach out to the appropriate regulatory agency to file a complaint. The Federal Reserve Consumer Help Center experts and website can answer your questions about how to file a complaint against a bank or other institution. The FRCH website can also help you find the regulator for your financial institution. Depending on the type of institution you have a complaint against, the agency will differ. For complaints about federally insured state-chartered bank members of the Federal Reserve System, contact federalreserveconsumerhelp.gov. Specialists can direct you to the agency that regulates your institution, such as the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Federal Housing Finance Agency. The National Credit Union Administration would get complaints about credit unions. And for complaints about an online merchant, contact the Federal Trade Commission. The list of regulated entities these federal agencies oversee is also available at federalreserve.gov/consumercommunities/agency. For more information about how to file a consumer complaint, please visit the link in this post.
For 10 years, the Survey of Household Economics and Decision-Making has tracked the economic well-being and financial conditions reported by U.S. adults and their families. The survey collects data on how people feel about their family's finances to help understand the effects of broader economic trends over time. Conducted in October 2022, the latest survey reveals that 73% of adults were doing at least okay financially, meaning they reported either doing okay or living comfortably. The share of adults doing at least okay financially in 2022 was down 5 percentage points from 2021 and was among the lowest observed since 2016. This decline in well-being aligns with broader economic conditions during fall 2022, including inflation and stock market declines. In economically challenging times, relatively small, unexpected expenses such as a car repair or a modest medical bill can be a hardship for many families. When faced with a hypothetical expense of $400, 63% of all adults in 2022 said they would have covered it exclusively using cash, savings, or a credit card paid off at the next statement, referred to altogether as cash or its equivalent. The share who would pay using cash or its equivalent was down 5 percentage points from 2021 and back at its 2019 level. Consistent with widespread experience of higher prices in the prior year, most adults said that price increases had affected their family budget. Adults with incomes under $100,000 were more likely to say their family budget was affected a lot by rising prices, compared to adults with higher incomes. Black and Hispanic adults, parents living with children under 18, and those with a disability were also more likely to indicate that their budget had been affected a lot by higher prices. Most people took action in response to higher prices, especially through changing spending. The most common adjustments were using less or stopping using products, as well as switching to cheaper alternatives. Just above 1/2 of respondents reduced savings. Increasing borrowing, working more, and asking for a raise were less common strategies. These survey findings provide insight into the wide range of financial opportunities and challenges facing U.S. families at the time of the survey. More information is available in the report on the economic well-being of U.S. households in 2022. To view or download this year's full report and downloadable survey data, visit federalreserve.gov/consumerscommunities/shed.
I used to watch BET, MTV, VH1, now I watch Tempo. Soca, Calypso, Reggae Dancehall. Don't stall, better get tuned in to the Tempo. Don't have cable, they got an app. Go to your app store, download that. Whether it's tourism, cuisine, or the social scenes, if it ain't Tempo, it's a rap. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo.
Welcome back to those of you that are just joining us. We have Gregory Roberson Smith Jr. He is the Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, and it's truly been a pleasure having him on the show today, really talking about the fundamentals. We talked about academics. We talked about academics versus practice. We talked about the fundamentals of having an excellent work ethic, having a mom and just seeing the vision of her work ethic and her love for her family. You know, going to a little town in North Carolina with a whole bunch of stoplight. Being able to hang out with your cousins and bills, and you made a whole lot of money when you had $1, right?
Right.
Just putting all of those things together, and so Greg is getting ready to talk to us a little bit more about those fundamentals as we get into now the practice part of it. You know, because Greg has a lot of nuggets that he's going to share with us today, and I'm super proud to have him on the show. He even talked about a lot of his extensive career. You know, working for Fortune 500 companies, we know that is not an easy task. And you work for Verizon, Citigroup, Race Management, and now with Compass as the regional vice president. It's just a delight to have all of this, you know, experience on the line on the Coaxum Report, sharing it with our listeners. For those of you that are just tuning in, you can download our app, our TV network app, and watch us every Wednesday. You can also catch us on Fire, on Amazon Fire, on Roku, and you can also listen to us on WSTX Bloomberg. So we're going to jump right back in, Greg. You know, you were giving us more fundamentals about all that you do. One thing I am going to say, you know, he glossed over all of his Fortune 500 experience, but made it a $12 million budget. It's nothing to sneeze at. And so for our small business owners with questions or concerns around managing their money and really investing in themselves and taking their business to the next level, Greg is here to kind of share some of those experience, over 30 years of experience with us, so that we can take it to the next level as well. It's all about building wealth here on the marketplace. So Greg, jump back in. Tell us a little more about the practice part of it. You talked about the academics in the first portion. And want to kind of get into that practice so we can leave those nuggets with our small business owners. And you even started talking about some that you're actually having conversations with about having small business, controlling your destiny, being able to manage your money, and then take it to the next level. So talk to us about that a little more.
Yes, I have, have several conversations, like I said, with friends of mine who are small business owners, and the things that they come and ask me about is number one, how they market themselves.
That's right.
What do they do
Marketing is
in terms of
important.
marketing themselves? When you're looking at, when you're talking about the fundamentals of number one of, when you have a business, not only have the infrastructure of the business, but at the same time, who are you trying to target? Who's your target audience? What are
That's
you
right.
doing to get yourself out there? And I just, in terms of something small, is where networking.
Ah,
That that's networking is the easiest thing, and when I said that, it's the easiest thing to do, and the less you can say it's not expensive to do, right?
right, right.
It's all about in terms of networking. When I talk about that, it's going back to, like I said, the when people growing up in different countries, different times, where the thing is that the networking is just word of mouth, right?
That's right.
Word of mouth, and it doesn't cost you money just to say, hey, I have a friend that owns this, or I have a friend that does this. Those are the things there in terms of networking
That's
where
right.
it can help you move your business forward.
It's so funny because when you're thinking about networking and you're talking about small businesses and how
Mhm.
you're able to get more business on your books by someone just referring you, right?
Yes.
So you're talking about the word of mouth, which is the ultimate Yelp, right? You don't need a Yelp
Mhm. That's
review.
right.
As Greg said, Terry can
Mhm.
do this work, right? So I
Exactly.
want to come to
Right,
Terry
right.
to get this work done. I mean, and I started
Mhm.
smiling about it because I give my students a book called Dig the Well Before You're Thirsty by Harvey McKay. And it
Mm.
literally is about that nurturing those relationships before you're thirsty. You don't
Yes.
let them at the 3 a.m. call and you haven't spoken to the person in 4 years. How many people did you have to get to before you got to that person? Like you don't went
Yeah.
through your whole top of your list.
Mhm.
And so, for those of you that just tuned in to listen to us, I mean, Greg just gave you a nugget and a half. He gave you two nuggets. In fact, when he started talking about not just networking, doing your best business so that you can get that recommendation because your word of mouth is
Mhm.
spreads so much further now than anything else. Greg said so and so is a good person and I should do business with them. That's what I'm going to do. And
Yeah.
Greg, is so important. That's what I built my business on. My business is called Coaxum Connect, connecting you
See?
to relationships.
Yes.
And this is exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about not just networking, Greg. You're also talking about things that people have made a lot of money. You get ready to go to a restaurant and you're thinking of you're in a different area. You're gonna call your friend, your frat, you're gonna call your
Mhm.
big brother, you're gonna call your
Mhm.
sister, ask somebody about it, and then
Mhm.
when you pull up the address, there's a Yelp report. There's a
Mhm.
little about this is a 5 star. This is a 4 star. Yeah, 3 stars. I don't know if I'm having dinner there tonight.
Mhm. Yeah, let me tell you, it's happened. It's happened. It's
Yeah,
happened.
the
But
network.
the thing is that Terry, it's when we say about that, always hear it's not what you know, is who you know.
That's right. That's
I
important.
mean, we say that all the time,
All
but
the
the thing
time.
is that people don't put that into practice.
So wait, you're gonna have to elaborate a little bit on that. So
Okay.
you've done this. You're doing it, right?
Mhm. Yep.
What is a recommendation that you would give to a small business owner or anyone that's listening to our show today, right? About networking. Like what is a nugget that you can leave with them so that they'll understand the not only just the importance of networking, but how to do it. Like
Mhm.
what would be your recommendation to someone just tuned in? It was like, wait a minute, the Grandmaster just dropped a nugget on me? What is this? Hold on, I gotta get my pen out. Get your pen and pencil ready. Greg about to drop some knowledge on you. Or, he done told you it's important to network. It's important to nurture those relationships. Now, Greg, how do you go about doing that to be successful and to be genuine? And to be genuine. How do you do it?
Well, it's there's so many different avenues, right? That you told us about that because I look at it from say sales, right? Because
Right.
the thing is that you don't everyone is a salesperson in some way, shape, or form, right? And
Okay.
especially if you are a small business owner, you are promoting your business, you are soliciting your business, depending on, like I said, depending on which line of business that you're in.
That's
The
right.
the part when I mentioned about the networking, there are networking organizations that fits for your specific line of business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happens is that each company that I worked for,
Mm-hmm.
it was networking organizations for those specific
Company.
industries.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. Okay.
Now, what happens that from a small business perspective, a lot of times they have these local city, counties,
The
certain places.
chambers, right?
Exactly.
They
Yes.
have the chambers. They have,
Yes.
local organizations. When you thought about it,
Mhm.
I thought about your NBA. They have an NBA meetup,
Yes.
right? They have groups that like-minded people because you already went to
Mhm.
that nugget. You talked about that nugget already, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, right?
Right.
And I'd like to add this one to the bunch. I remember having a conversation with one of my pastors, and they said to me, I need to get new friends. And I started laughing with him. And he said, when you're the smartest person in the room and
Mhm.
your list of friends, you need new friends because you need
Right.
to always be elevating up that ladder. You should never stay stagnant. And I thought about this. I was like, never thought about that. So you gave that nugget already, right? So now
Yes.
you're talking about networking, being a part of the organization, whether it's your chamber of commerce, whether it's your
Yes.
precinct community council, your
Mhm.
community board,
Right.
whether it's on a committee. I know that in my church specifically, we have all of these different committees that you can work on. The
Yeah.
community board, there's a land use committee, there's
Mhm.
all these things that you
Mhm.
can work. You're like-minded, whatever your skill set is. What I hear you saying is bring your skill set to bear to better not just your relationships, but to better your network. So that's huge. That's huge. Okay, so all
Yeah.
right.
No,
So I'm
so
glad
definitely, yeah, I that's what you need to do. Is kind of like those pieces that, like you mentioned about, say church, different organizations. Because every time, listen, some of my friends always have a card.
Yep,
Have a
yep.
card. They give their card. Here you go. Give me a call. And
Right.
but you mentioned something, Terry, which was very important too. Is when you talk about referrals, the question is that you have to have, someone, they ask a question, well, what references do you have?
Yeah, they do. Right.
They always ask what references. So it's always the key, especially as a small business owner, that you want to make sure you have kind of like a couple of clients that you have
That's right.
that you can use and say, hey, if you need references, you can speak to these particular clients, because those are the ones that helps
They can speak for you,
validate.
right.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
what I hear you saying is testimonials, because that's what we call them
Well,
in our
yes, because yeah, testimonies. Yes, we did.
they could give you
That's
a
right.
testimony about the work I could do, right?
That's right. That's
All
right.
right, all right. Referrals, testimonials. I like that, and it's also really important now in the age of the internet, right?
Mhm.
Because you want to break through the noise.
Yeah.
So we can break through the noise with stories. People love stories, right? Someone saying this is the work that I'm doing, and this person vouching for that. This person saying, hey, they were able to deliver on X, Y, and Z. That's really, really important. So yeah, so the referrals, the testimonials, all being a part of your network, being a part of your organization, whatever your like-minded organization is, whether it is something in your neighborhood, something in an organization that you're a part of,
Mhm.
or something that you're just interested in seeing something done on or better by, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you done dropped a whole bunch of nuggets now. So we got to get people with their pens and papers in their hand and start writing some of this stuff down, because the importance of your net work will be your net worth,
Mm.
period.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's important for us to understand what that work is, putting that work in so that we can realize the value of our worth at the end of the day. All right, so you done gave me a couple of nuggets on that. Okay, now what else? What else?
Well,
What
you
else?
know what listen, besides that, when you talk about first, like the foundation of promotions, right? Promoting yourself, things of that sort.
Mhm.
The question is that how is your financial, foundation with
Mhm.
regards to, in terms of your revenue and expenses, right? Because me think, my money finance kind of thing is that sometimes, we tend to not track as much as we can to ensure that we have a proper balance of revenue and expenses. The thing is that sometimes we tend to overspend, for certain items, line items, where it's not needed.
Mhm.
Where that comes in, I'm sure that all our small business owners have someone there that's, kind of like the finance whiz or something like that, to know how to balance that piece there. Because a lot of times financial, the money, I should say, the equity that you have within your business is always going to help down the line in terms of your rating. If you're looking for a small business loan, or if you're looking for other different things, you have to make sure that part is, strong as well with regards
the financial health of your business is important, is what I hear you
Yes,
say.
yes, no, definitely the financial, definitely it is. Sometimes, listen, when you start off, it's not easy. There's always going to be, some lumps. There's always some challenges, but the key is that you stay on the path. And the key is to staying on the path is, number one, if you have a financial advisor, to talk to your financial advisor or a friend that's in that particular field, to number one, to balance that piece there. Once you have that in terms of the and getting that together, then like I said, is different avenues. Number one, the networking. What can you do to generate, like I said, the people in the door? I always use this nickname, put the fans in the stands, right?
That's right.
And that's where
I always say the people in the seats. You put
yeah,
the
well,
fans
that's yes, exactly.
right.
Exactly. So I think that with, a lot of the people, like I said, I talk to is definitely in terms of the financial health.
Financial, it's really important. I'm teaching an entrepreneurship class right now. Actually, we're working on financials, and I'm teaching this class at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. I have about 19 Black and brown women that are finishing their business plans. They're going to do this pitch at the end about their specific business, and looking at the financials. We have to have some tough conversations about a budget. We had to have some tough conversations about fixed expenses versus other expenses that they may have. So they'll have an understanding of what you got to pay your utilities if you have brick and mortar, right? You right now, there used to be a time when your phone was a luxury. Your phone now is a necessity for people to get in touch with you, as well as your computers and all of these other expenses that are fixed expenses. So you're paying for your internet on a monthly basis. There is no, I'm just going to catch me a hot spot somewhere if you're running a business.
Right.
You literally have to be able to manage those things. And then the rate of return, like when you're putting your service out there, what's the rate of return? When you're investing in your business, what's your rate of return? How many, I call them a multimillionaire cohort of individuals, and they're all like in their own right or just phenomenal women. And I ask them, how much money you want to make a month? Let's start there, right?
Yeah.
You make what, 20,000 a month? Okay, but let's see what that looks like, and let's work backwards from there. And they're like stunned at how they'll be able to do that with limited resources. You don't need a lot of money to make $20,000 a month.
No, you don't.
This is your service. This is how much you're charging, and so you're telling them that financial health is extremely important to their business. Understanding your financial health. So you talked about being surrounded by like-minded individuals. You talked about your network being your net worth, right? Having testimonials, people are vouching for you, having the fans stands, right? And now you're talking about something, and I don't know why. Well, I kind of do, because of our culture. We don't really talk about money in our Black and brown community.
No, we don't.
It's not something we don't talk about. That mind your business.
That's right. That's right.
Really, only know that.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Whereas other people are having those conversations from babies. Like, I'm teaching my 4-year-old. He has his piggy bank, and he knows that he's going to invest when he gets this certain amount of money. Here's what we're investing in. He goes to my daughter's house. He's picking up her change. He said, I got to invest this money. She's
That's right.
how you invest in my money? Well, you just got to line around. I mean,
That's right.
And she's like, what are you teaching this way? I said, I'm teaching him what I did not teach y'all. And I should have taught it to you guys similar to what I'm teaching to him. But again, you live and you learn.
Right.
It's important for us to have these conversations with our young people, because what you said early on is spot on. They are sponges.
Yes.
So just like they're picking up the good, they're going to pick up the bad too. So we want to make sure that they understand the importance of finances. They understand the importance of building wealth in their generation. They understand the importance of a want versus a need.
Yes. Oh, that's it. Yes. We all experience. We're always learning that piece.
Absolutely.
And that's when you mentioned, that's one thing too. And I should have mentioned this before, when you talk about learning, being open-minded, to, for feedback and constructive criticism. right?
That's right.
Sometimes we tend to take things a little personally,
That's right.
on some things. But I think if you can, some of us, we have to just be more open minded with that. If you get the
Right.
feedback, because you hear this, the day that you stop learning is the day that you begin to die, right?
That's right.
So anything is always learning, but also reinvent yourself. You're constantly reinventing yourself, especially when you're a small business
What
owner.
do you mean by that? I like that, reinvent yourself. I mean, I listen.
Yes.
I'm thinking of a
Mhm.
song in my head. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
say it, but you know, go ahead, reinvent
Yeah, 'cause
yourself.
when you reinvent it, you're adapting. You
Ah,
adapting
okay.
because that's adapt. Because if you think about it, during the past number of years, when we had, say recession,
That's right.
all these
That's
different
right.
things, what happens that people and businesses had to pivot.
That's right.
They had to pivot. They had to reinvent themselves in order to work and stay afloat. The question
Yeah.
is, are you adaptable?
Are you adaptable? So reinventing yourself. Because when you said it, I think I thought of J Ho. Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Right.
So
Well, you in Brooklyn, so that's what you're gonna pop in your head, right? So
yeah, pivoting, right?
yeah. Mhm.
Diversifying.
Yes.
It's really, really important for small businesses to understand that you may have started with that widget, but as you adapt and as you
Mhm.
pivot, you may want to diversify
That's right.
your particular skill set, or
Mhm.
whatever the widget is, whatever the product is, right? I give my business example. When I was teaching an MBA program at Metropolitan College in New York, I used to tell them that gas station used to be just a gas station, and now
Mhm.
you can go to that gas station, you get a hot dog,
That's right.
play some lottery. You may even get a cup of coffee at that gas station.
That's
There
right.
are even some franchises in those gas stations. But I remember when a gas station was just that, a place to
Mhm.
pull up and get some gas. But
That's
they
it.
understood the importance of, once you're able to capture the attention of that client or that customer,
Mhm.
offer different things. And that is allowing you to be adaptable, allowing you
Mhm.
to pivot, allowing you to diversify, allowing more money to come in
Right.
as well. And so, I think it's really important for us to think about them things. The thing that you also mentioned, and I want to go back to that, because
Mhm.
usually we get to this part of it, and we talk about that marketing. You came in the door waving, kicking in, marketing, the
Mhm.
importance of
Mhm.
marketing. And I think it's really
Mhm.
important for us to get back to that,
Mhm.
because a lot of what COVID taught us is that a lot of our small business that were brick and mortar and were not did not see the significance and the importance of marketing,
Right.
and they're no longer here. And so, having the understanding, doing your research, understanding your market, know who you're selling your widget to, know who your customer is and who your customer is not. Not
Mhm.
everybody is your customer. Understand that, because you'll waste less money marketing to them,
Right.
than you would just putting money out there to everybody. And so I think it's really important. So we talked about the importance of networking. We talked about the importance of doing good work, doing more than what you paid for, because that's
Mhm.
how you're going to get those testimonials and those referrals. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If you're doing shoddy work, Grandmaster is not recommending you. Don't even ask. Don't get your feelings
Mhm.
hurt. It's not going to happen.
Right. I'm still your friend, but I just want to be able to
It's
give.
not recommended. Right? So
Right.
it's
That's very
important
true.
for you to do
Very
more
true.
than what you're paid to do,
Right.
because that's how you're getting those testimonials and those recommendations. Your
Mhm.
want versus your needs, knowing your financial health, understanding your financial. No one should know more about your business finances than you do.
Yeah.
And Greg is like, listen, majored in banking and finance. Numbers are important to me. And if you can't do the numbers, or you're just not that, there's people that you can hire to be able to do that for you. And there's so many systems now, right? Your customer relationship management system, your QuickBooks, Intuit, those are all systems that you can use to understand your financial health. You may not understand every single point of it, but you'll understand your financial health, which is really important. And Greg already said it. You can't build wealth if you don't know where you're at, right?
Mhm. That's right.
Learning. He said never stop learning, because when you stop learning, you're dying. So he
Mhm.
wants to make sure that you're investing in yourself, that you're learning, and you're being your best authentic self every single time. And then finally, one of the best points that small business owners need to understand is be adaptable,
Mhm.
be flexible, be able to pivot, be able to diversify, be able to understand your capabilities, right? What you can and cannot do. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I say it all the time because a lot of times at Black and brown people, we don't want to ask for help until we get into a rut, you know. And I spoke to another business owner about the GPS the other day, and I say, yeah, you know, I remember a time my grandfather would be in the car. He was not asking for directions. He would go around in a circle a million times. He know where he's going. We lost. But he was not asking, right?
Right.
You don't have to do that anymore. You got GPS. You just put it in there and you can, you know, know where you're going, right? So know where you're going so you can get there, right? It's really important. So, you know, I mean, unfortunately, our time is up. I can't believe it, but I want you to leave a nugget. Leave one more thing with us. So, and of course, I'm going to invite you back on because we've covered a lot of ground today. You know, we went all the way from marketing all the way through pivoting and being authentic. But what is something that you want to leave with small businesses today about anything that we discussed so that, you know, they'll be able to take this nugget away as a solution to help them get to the next level?
Be open.
Be open.
And don't give up.
Okay.
Those are the things, is the basics that I can probably say, because so many other things I mentioned about, but don't give up.
Okay.
And just to, you know, keep at it.
And be open. Be open. So I want to thank you so much, Grandmaster, for being with Greg. You know, you always
call me Greg. Yes, that's Greg. Greg, Terry.
Thank you for being a part of the Coaxum Report. There's a lot of great nuggets that you shared with us today, and I know that you're going to be able to help someone else pivot to their next level, be their authentic self, and more importantly, build wealth. So I look forward to having you in another show. Thank you so much. Great.
Thank you. All right, take care. Thank you.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Warner Brothers Discovery is in negotiations to license a lineup of HBO titles to Netflix. Variety reports the deal, which may include the Issa Rae comedy Insecure, is believed to be non-exclusive to Netflix, and that would mean that the shows would still be streamed on Max. No comment from Netflix. The food delivery competition is heating up for Uber. Bolt Technology says it will begin using robots to deliver customers' food orders in a new partnership with Starship Technologies. Terms of that deal weren't disclosed. The partnership will kick off in Estonia, where both companies were founded. Meanwhile, Domino's is making their deliveries more convenient. The pizza chain is introducing Pinpoint Delivery, a new technology that allows you to get your meal just about anywhere. All you have to do is drop a pin on the map in the Domino's app and get your pizza delivered to you wherever you are this summer, like at a park or even the beach. I'm Lisa Mateo, Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Doubts as to whether Wall Street's recent rally still has legs have investors on the defensive. Stocks began the week with a modest pullback. The Dow tumbled nearly 0.75% to lead the retreat, but the market was off its lows as the session ended. Investors will be listening closely for the next 2 days as Fed Chair Jerome Powell gives his semi-annual testimony before Congress. A House panel will go first, followed by the Senate on Thursday, as Powell tries to clarify what many saw as a mixed message from the Fed last week about the interest rate outlook. FedEx is a stock to watch after its shares fell sharply after hours. It sees profits missing their targets, even as shippers redirect some business from rival UPS, which faces a possible strike later this summer. Separately, FedEx says it will merge its Canadian ground and express networks to improve efficiency. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio. This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The CEOs of Microsoft and Activision Blizzard will be in court this week trying to persuade a federal judge to allow their planned merger. The Federal Trade Commission is looking to block the $69 billion deal. Other top executives, including the company's chief financial officers and Microsoft's executive VP for gaming, will also testify. Eli Lilly has agreed to pay $2.4 billion for the biotech company Dice Therapeutics. Dice is working on oral treatments for immune diseases like psoriasis. Oral drugs are often cheaper and are preferred by patients over injectables. Novo Nordisk is suing medical spas and weight loss clinics in New York, Florida, Texas, and Tennessee. The drug maker is accusing them of trademark infringement for hawking cheaper, compounded versions of Wegovy, a version of its Ozempic, for weight loss. The company says more lawsuits are coming. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio. This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Tesla's electric vehicle charging plug is another step closer to becoming the U.S. standard. EV startup Rivian is joining GM and Ford in adopting Tesla's charging port, giving drivers of Rivian pickups and SUVs access to over 12,000 Tesla superchargers in North America. Several charging companies have also said they will offer Tesla-compatible chargers. What's the next big thing for Amazon? Analysts at Morgan Stanley say it will be makeup, with Amazon passing Walmart to become the biggest player in beauty in about 2 years. It's another step back to the future in TV sports. The NBA's Utah Jazz will make its game broadcasts available over the air this season. It's the latest franchise to return to the model that was popular before sports teams moved their games to cable. The Jazz will also offer a paid streaming service that will include behind-the-scenes team content. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Some of the grocery store arguments that used to take place in parking lots or crowded aisles now happen online. The Wall Street Journal says thanks to the rise of grocery delivery apps such as Instacart and DoorDash, Instacart has started sending warning emails to customers who've been flagged by its shoppers as troublemakers, warning them not to yell at shoppers or argue over things that are out of stock. Shopping online for makeup could be Amazon's next big thing. Morgan Stanley analysts predict Amazon will bypass Walmart to become the biggest player in the beauty arena in about 2 years, eating up about 14.5% of market share. Could be a tough year ahead for FedEx in the next fiscal year. The company is seeing revenue growth stay mostly flat. Investors were not happy with its after-the-bell earnings report. Before the bell, investors were a little nervous ahead of Fed Chair Jay Powell's appearance before Congress this week. The averages fell about 0.2 to almost 0.75%. The Dow falling 245, the Nasdaq 22, the S&P 21. Joan Dunn.
This is the Bloomberg Small Business Report. Some of the biggest social media influencers make it look easy to make big money. But like any small business, it takes time, resources, and determination for content creators to create a steady stream of revenue. According to a new study published by the Tilt newsletter for professional content creators, it takes an average of almost 5 months for them to earn their first dollar, and more than 12 months to turn their digital venture into a full-time business. After reaching that stage, creators will need to side hustle or rely on savings to get by. The survey notes it took more than 18 months for creators to fully support themselves through content creation. And as for maintaining a strong social media presence, creators should focus on quality over quantity. The study indicates the average creator has 4,000 followers across various channels. The Tilt's founder, Joe Pulizzi, tells Business Insider the numbers show you don't need millions of followers to make a business out of this. With the Bloomberg Small Business Report, I'm Steve.
This is the Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini. Housing starts are surging way more than expected this spring as builders rush to build to meet a solid foundation of demand.
There is a well-documented supply shortage of housing.
Stuart Miller is executive chairman at the home builder Lennar.
It is 15 years in the making. We've been underproducing the housing that is needed in the country for over 15 years since the Great Recession, and that's not going to fix itself quickly.
And Miller says the brakes on mortgage rates that builders are offering is helping spark more sales.
We're now seeing demand come back to the market and fulfill need within the country, and pricing and interest rate buy-downs have enabled that.
Building and signs of future building of single and multifamily homes jumped in May, especially in the western region, including California, along with the Midwest and the South. But it's also worth noting the pace slowed in the Northeast. And that's the Bloomberg Real Estate Report.